Hi everyone, welcome to Shooting the Shift this week. I'm Bam. That's Matt.
Hi.
That's Bryn.
Hello.
That's Milton.
Hello.
And this week we are going to talk about all those times that Bryn will say it's the car's fault and the rest of us will admit it's our fault. Workshop errors. It's my birthday episode, so Bryn won the competition after it was judged that somehow I cheated by deciding that I got 4 points when I only answered one question right. So Bryn's gonna announce the discount code if he remembers. If he forgets it, I'll announce it right at the end of the episode. And that wins you 20% off your order, and Milton gets to take you out in his car. Don't touch Milton. It's kind of like when you go to a strip bar, you're not allowed to touch the strippers.
But you can put some money in.
I was going to say, if you want to stuff 20s down his pants, he'd be well happy with that.
We
I'll
all
keep
know
going.
Milton will be happy with anybody stuffing money down his pants. In fact, it's the way I pay him for the previous competition winners.
I bought new pants this year.
Yeah, he's all set, ready to go.
Do you want to see him?
So workshop fails, guys. Obviously, the next one of these where we talk about things that we've got horribly wrong is going to be the driving fails, which is going to be interesting.
Never done any.
Nah.
No,
Next.
I've never bent a wheel in a Mexican
Oh, yeah.
highway.
I definitely don't have a bent wheel in the shed that I'm turning into a chair.
I didn't bend
But-
my wheel, I cracked it.
So I think I know at least two of us here have had extended installation periods for parts.
No, never.
I think that's me and Milton. So I know I had it with the Skunk 2 intake manifold.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because
I'm with you now. Sorry, it took a minute to catch up.
because it was just so the Skunk 2 intake manifold for the MX-5 is designed for the Mark II and the Mark 1 head. The difference being the positioning of the bolt holes for the Mark 1 and the Mark II head. And as Bryn will be able to confirm, the bolt hole is really, really close to the intake on a Mark 1.
I have a prop in that box.
So, what Skunk 2 have successfully done, and don't get me wrong, great part, buy it, but be prepared to spend around about £200 on parts, on tools, figuring out which tool you need to get the job done. What I ended up settling on was angled crow's feet heads for my ratchets.
Yeah, because it's basically spanner access, but leverage of ratchet.
Yeah. So get in with the spanner. With the spanner, it's angled, so you can come in from wherever works on the ratchet, and then you're away. 200 quid's worth of parts to get there. That's probably my most frustrating fail, because I'd be like, crow's feet will work. So I ordered a set of crow's feet, something I never had before. Probably use them again at some point, never. And they got there, and it still didn't work. So then I built this sort of shoddy, put together, angled crow's foot that did work, but fell apart every time you were trying to do a bolt. So then I ultimately resorted to, right, let's do this properly and spend money. But in the process of doing that, I bought S spanners, C spanners. Yeah.
Pain in the back foot.
Absolute pain in the backside. And then I think that the other biggest one on the MX-5 was the Frankenstein bolt moment. So when I committed and said, my MX-5 is no longer a soft top, and whipped everything off, I tried to get one of the Frankenstein bolts out, and it did that thing where it's really tight, and then it suddenly becomes very, very loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then a drill and tapping tools were required. And I didn't quite tap it right, so the bolt then, if I'm honest, got cold welded into place.
If it
In
works.
it goes.
That's the story of why my MX-5 is a permanent hardtop.
Mine's
But
permanent, but
do you know what? It stiffens the chassis no end. It's great.
do you think it does?
I find the car nicer to drive with the hardtop on than off. It feels floppy without.
Do you have a
hardtop.
roll cage?
No, I've just got. I've got.
Half cage, rather.
I've just got a harness bar.
Yeah.
They still flex with the hardtop on because I've been over it was like a 45-degree drop and then to flat, and it was quite an angle when it goes. And as I went diagonally because I'm low. I could still hear the car creaking as I went, and the hardtop moving on the top. So it still flexes, but it's probably better than the soft top.
Did you use factory latches or yeah? So that's
Factory latches.
So I'm on bolt-in plates as well. I'm on metal plates.
Yeah,
It's a
which
totally
probably
different
helps.
ballgame.
But just remember, the internet will tell you that the MX-5 is a fantastically stiff chassis from factory with no flex at all. You know, if you park 3 wheels on a curb, you can definitely close the doors because it's a stiff chassis. Wrong, internet.
There's an internet workshop fail from Brent.
My door drops when I open it. It goes clonk.
I have since someone did that driving fail of somehow in the space that's 3 times wider than my office, and I've got a picture on Facebook somewhere. One day I'll find it and I'll show you guys in an episode just to make you chuckle. And I know my door is incredibly stiff because it's bent to be stiff on the driver's side. But that's one of those things that's going to get fixed when it eventually goes off to Paint a Dave. The only place it needs to go for a full resto, I think.
Is he also straightener Dave?
He's straightened my Works NR4s. That's all I'm going to say about that, Brent. So Milton, we know you had a workshop fail because you had to send parts to Bryn.
I
don't
didn't
think that
even
was. It wasn't so much a workshop fail as a manufacturer fail.
Manufacturer, design, communication,
It was a
design,
preemptive
lack of communication. Yeah.
We already knew there would be issues, so
I'd already asked, before I'd even given money away, I'd already asked Bryn, would you be able to fix this for me?
The
problem is...
maybe that's a sort of thinking forward workshop success then.
The product itself and what it achieves is great. There's nothing... I might be wrong, but I don't think there's anything for the MX-5 chassis that's as good. You can get wise fab for the Mark III. Mark 1 and 2, the only one you can get is IRP.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for proper lock kit for the front that's not just cut and shut knuckles. I wanted the adjustability, which it offered. Availability, because I think I just got caught with the whole little cough that everyone had last year. That's because they've got them on the shelves now, so...
Yeah.
That word, yeah.
That car.
Yeah, that one we're not allowed to say.
So that's why I think it was a bit delayed. But so if I bent one, if I had YSAB, I've got to wait 6 weeks to get a new one from America or wherever they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, genuinely, if anybody knows what we're talking about, great product for the price. There is nothing out there like it. Very, very strongly built. However, the design could do with some work, and the designer is unwilling to admit that or listen to feedback. So I don't want to talk shit, but be aware if you buy this stuff, there are a number of things you may need to do depending on whether you get lucky or unlucky with the production tolerances. And
yes,
I am perfectly happy to tell you what you need to do. I'm also perfectly happy to do it if I know you. If you're just a random person, please don't get me
For
involved.
paid.
But that PO box that we're going to set up for everyone to send random stuff to Bryn, if those parts appear, we know what's wrong. Just make sure you pay your return postage.
It's stupid stuff like the brake calipers don't fit back the carriers unless you drill out the holes again, because they're made to be exactly the right fitment, and then they're sent to powder coating. Like bushes don't fit unless you go for the cheaper ones or the square flush fit. So you can't fit OEM or Super Pro. Bryn, is that right?
You might be able to get away with OEM. I haven't tried, but I imagine they're probably the same shape.
I think they're the same as Super Pro, isn't it? That's why they're designed that way, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Because it will just rip them up. And there's just like I couldn't fit the front shocks in without putting a bolt in with a nut in the middle and then tightening it because they're like that. And I had to make it go like that so I could get the shock in, and then I had to hammer the bolt through, and then the top studs, they needed to go here, but they were actually here. So I had to use a crowbar to push them in. So my shock is now, it's the only, because the tabs are 4mm too short. It's not like a mil, it's 4mm.
Yeah, I had to shim the lower ball joints for it as well. But
yeah.
anyway.
I think before anybody who doesn't know already figures this out, Matt, you work on your drive regularly.
Yeah.
You've got to have
not
some
much
horror stories.
Not that many, to be fair, other than the usual snapped bolts here and there that you fully expect to snap. To be fair, I've got two stories that spring to mind, but they're both brake related. What? Just discs and pads, to be fair. Both of them are disc related, actually. One of them was my first Mazda 6, the classic. They've put the retraining screws back in to hold the discs in place.
Quickly on that, what is the point of that? If your wheel has come off, what's diddy little Phillips screw gonna do?
The thing is, though, if your wheel comes off, the caliper's still holding the disc on.
Yeah.
So it doesn't fall off anyway.
I think the only reason
I would raise the question that if the wheels come off, that corner of the car is just a brake. So why does it matter if the disc's still attached?
Yeah, exactly.
The only reason those screws exist is to line the disc up so that it's easy for them to put the whole assembly together in the factory. And if you've got wheel bolts. Sorry to be a dad killjoy. That's why they exist.
Yeah.
You should never refit them!
To be fair, we all have wheel bolts.
Studs.
No, studs. Yeah, studs.
Unless you own a stat.
We're a bunch of studs.
Anyway, replacing the front discs on the Mazda 6, using up four drill bits, one for each corner to take the heads off those bolts.
Ouch.
Like, why? Just a pain in the ass. And the other one was when I bought Nicole's first MX-5 for her. It had been sat for like 2 years, so it needed new discs and pads all around. Picked up all the boxes, like, okay, this is all around. So, okay, these are clearly the fronts. Put the fronts on, calipers on, pads on, fitted it. Go through the back, pull them out. It's like, why are these thicker than the fronts? It was like, oh yeah, and then I had to take all the fronts off, put the right discs on, and then go and do the back.
Oh no way!
Yeah.
What they say? You put?
Yeah, I put the back discs on the front.
You knob.
So actually, that's one I had forgotten. I have done something very, very similar with our friend Nick's RX-8 when we were putting lowering springs on that. He was like, which of these are the front and which are the back? And having only seen a few cars in my life at that point, I was like, oh, well, the long ones always go at the front and the short ones always go at the back.
Yeah.
Not true on an RX-8. Got all the way through it, realised we were wrong, took them all apart again, turned the fucking springs around. Oh, look, there's a part number. It says R and F on it. Fuck! And that was lowering springs as well. So we properly had to, take the shock apart to swap the fucking spring over. That was a
I made an ordering error for my current Mazda 6. Ordered the wrong lowering springs.
I'm gonna throw one out here that Bryn will probably understand why. It's not me. It's the previous owner of the Stagia. No, it was. So I made the executive decision that when I got it, I was like, "There's a lot of turbo flutter. It's meant to have a blow-off valve. Something's probably wrong with the blow-off valve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy an HKS SSQV. If it breaks, upgrade. Plus awesome noise, and you can change the tips in to change the pitch of the noise. So I got a purple one because it was purple." And dismantled everything, took it apart, and lo and behold, blocking the blow-off valve is a perfectly formed cut out of a Dr. Pepper can. So, Brent, if you'd like to tell the viewers, stroke listeners, what's wrong with that?
Nothing. I think that is the perfect thing to do, and I can see no flaw.
Cheers,
if
mate.
you want to block something off, you use a Dr. Pepper can. That is the truth.
I was talking more about the issues it may cause further down the road, mate.
I refuse to go into those issues because they are hotly debated, and I still don't know what the right answer is either.
Oh, interesting.
Is this a decision between blow-off valve and no blow-off valve on turbos?
Yes.
I don't have one, and I'm still on the same turbo 4 years later. And Bryn's got a really cool video of me doing doo-doo-doo-doo. And yeah, my turbo's still fine.
I do have
I'm going to throw it out there, Milt, that this is now a 21-year-old turbo.
Could be fine.
Mine's a ting-tong wishy boy.
Do you mean a yin-yang spinny thing?
No, that's the other one.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's a TJ5.
I forgot we're naming brands now.
Yeah. I've got a TJ4, silly, duh.
Baby turbo.
I'm still just above wastegate.
I've had actually, like, this week I've had a really fun thing. So obviously it's lockdown and I sent my Stagia away to MOT.
Is it lockdown?
Well, it's tier 4 for me and Matt.
It's lockdown, but nobody's calling it that because then you won't get #lockdown3 trending everywhere.
So I've had a slight workshop fail in the fact that I couldn't get to the one that my Stagia is at for its MOT anymore. So it's still sat there. So what I've decided to do while it's there is just upgrade some parts. Might as well be getting work done while it's there.
I'll allow it.
Super Pro bushes on the front tie rod.
I was just when you said you'd had a fun one that week, I was gonna say, is it as fun, Bam, as pulling over in the hard shoulder and throwing snow at your caliper because one of your brakes is fucking 300 degrees?
So
because that's what I did this week.
Really importantly, is that the car's fault or is that a workshop fail from Bryn?
Don't know. Tell you soon when I've fucking ordered some parts and fucking like, what's wrong with you, Passat? It's a new caliper.
It's a Passat. This is a really good point. If you want to find out if Bryn actually dropped the bollock on his brakes, make sure you hit the subscribe and the notification button, and we'll tell you when we know.
Not next week though, because I won't have a chance until like later than we next record this to actually change it. So I'm just going to drive it to work every day like it is, and occasionally hit it with a hammer and like see if
throw some snow at it.
Yeah, throw some snow at it. Hopefully it snows.
I was going to say, why don't you drive the MX? But you're still. Why don't you just fix that?
Why not drive the MX-5, Melton? Why not drive the MX-5? Yeah, that's a great idea. Plus, it's not insured because, like, my insurance always falls in the really awkward time between Christmas and New Year's. So I told them to fucking leave it for 2 weeks this year.
All you've got to do is jerry rig up some sort of truck racing brake cooling system.
Do it.
Genuinely been there, Matt. It has crossed my mind that the tank on the Passat for the windscreen washers is enormous and it would make great water-cooled brakes. And then while I was lying there thinking this, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just fix it, you bellend. So that's how that conversation went in my head.
I do have one workshop fail. It was at an old house. We was on a drive. I was jacking the car up, and I thought I'd chopped the front wheels, but obviously I hadn't. And it was on like a paving stove drive, so it was not much grip plus moss. And jacking up on one of those Halfords on, you're like, it's gone up a little bit, and then it jacks up, and my arm starts moving backwards, and I'm like, why is the jack? And then I realised the car was rolling down the back, and so I jumped out of the way, and it kept going until there was a little bit of grass between that and the house, and there was like that much gap between the jack handle and the house. So I almost crashed the car without even driving it.
Nice.
Safety first.
I've had some really sketchy suicide jack moments.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah, we've all used suicide jacks though.
Oh,
I tell you what is the scariest fucking moment of your life. When your stager, suicide jack, falls out, and all that is holding the wheel on, and you do this face. All that was holding the wheel on was 2 nuts left that were maybe 3 turns on. I have no idea how that wheel stayed on the car with the force it hit the deck, but I am never ever using another brand of wheel nuts on that car again.
We must have just sat and twisted on the studs. That must have been the only thing.
When I got it back up in the air, I twisted it, and it was like half a turn, and they came off.
Wow.
It was scary as fuck. So the moral of that story, for everybody that doesn't know where I used to live, is don't just put a board on gravel and hope for the best.
Been there. Definitely been there.
I've jacked my car up in some sketchy places, but I've never had it fall off jacks.
I've never had it fall off. I've had some when, say, you're doing a gearbox at home and you need to get the car high enough, but your jack only goes so high and your axles don't, so you pull it on some wheels. So what you have to do is you put like 2 bricks on top of the jack, then under the diff, and you start jacking up and you see the bricks are like that, and the whole car is just resting on 2 bricks that are like that. That's scary. And you're just trying to slide 2 wheels under the other wheels. Yeah. Buy bigger jacks.
I've never nearly lost one of my cars, but I nearly lost Nick's RX-8 when we were at Rockingham on the L2D paddock. Their pits had to be on this slope, and we were all pitted sideways, so we were jacking sideways on a slope.
It was gravelly as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't good. So we had the car up in the air, changing the wheels, and it genuinely started to go. And luckily, the guys in the pits either side of us noticed, ran over, and we literally had like 4 guys pushing on one side of the car while Nick went and got his tyre changed so that we could put it back on the car. I was like, we're going to put it all back together. Right, lower it down.
Oh, well, and it's gravel mud.
Yeah, that was not good. Yeah. I was scared.
I'm glad it was wet because I only had to change tyres once. Yeah. And that was just to try and keep up with you because you was cheating on semi-slicks or something.
No semi-slicks. It's all in the driving technique, Milton.
Right. Catch me when it's dry.
I think
yeah.
so.
It's all about having about 4 horsepower, so my wheel speed is never that high.
I think no, like we've all admitted we've got faults. So here's some fun stories that I've been witness to. The moment, and Matt was witness to this as well, actually.
Witness!
Matt was at my house the day this happened. So we hear the infamous noise of ugga dugga 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 ugga dugga 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 ugga dugga 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 ugga dugga. Oh shit!
Yeah.
Was it a snapped? Was it a snapped wheel stud, Matt? I can't remember exactly what I'd done, but
combination of that and they were all cross-threaded, I think, as well. He'd cross-threaded all 4 of the previous ones before snapping one.
Ouch! How?
We've been there.
That's how Milton.
Yeah, because he didn't put them on a little bit. He just went straight in with it.
Yeah, and I think I was there when you learned that, Matt, because I remember being at Pod before we kind of realised that, and you did the same thing and cross-threaded this wheel nut, and then I was sat there for like 10 minutes with a needle file reforming some threads so that Matt could put his wheel nuts back on.
Speaking of that, my not product placement, please sponsor me, Milwaukee. I learned it from Scuzzle at Race Remembrance, and he said, he's like, oh, I'll let you do it. I don't want to cross-thread your wheels. It's like, you will not, if you put it on the setting, you will not cross-thread it. You could try. So he actually go on and take it off. So I buzzed it off. You put it on the bottom setting, and I tried to cross-thread it, and it just goes and stops. It will not go past more than, I think it's like 10 foot-pound Newton-meter torques.
That's a
yeah.
Yeah.
If you put a wheel nut on and forget to change the setting and you put it on 10, it's fucking coming off.
Oh, if you put it on 3, it would cross-thread it all the way to the base, because they're pretty good.
No,
I always
the real answer to that is, and we've said this before, when you start out, get a torque wrench.
No, wind them on by hand. Just wind them on by hand.
And then,
I put mine on a few threads by hand, all 4 of them, and then just buzz them all on.
Yeah.
And then use either torque wrench or breaker bar at the end just to give them a last little bit.
Am I the only person here who's still wheel nut on by hand, torque wrench?
Yeah.
When you're changing your tyres 20, 30
times
times
a
in a
day, yeah.
session, I just gun them off, put them on. I use, because I've got the tuner style one, so you've got to use the little keys. So
Yeah.
I use that, do them all by hand, and then setting 2, and
I've got to admit, if I was taking a stage here to do some tyre burning activities, I would probably not put its full wheel nut assembly on.
What?
Have you not seen the spiky wheel nuts on the stage here yet?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I'll only put like 2 nuts
long out of the wheel. So the tip is screw offable. The actual mint green shell is aluminium and comes off, and then the wheel nut itself is steel.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realise they were multi-piece. Like, I knew that the tip came off. I didn't realise the other bit was multi-piece.
No full, and it's a locking wheel nut on every wheel as well.
That's good.
So if someone wants to steal that car, if they go with a buzz gun to buzz it off, all that'll happen is a bit of aluminium will ruin their buzz gun. and then they'll be like, oh well, shit.
And then what they do is they'll jack it up and steal your cat that you don't have.
Yeah.
Mr. Milton, that is a 2000 car, and I can confirm it is in the state that it arrived from Japan.
For legal reasons.
Whether or not it had the cat when it arrived from Japan is a totally different story.
Yeah.
And it may or may not have a complete full spare factory exhaust set in my workshop just in case.
Useful to have.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So, actually, another little cheeky workshop fail that this is going to make Bryn happy for a totally different reason to the actual fail itself. So I got, for Christmas, I got some new number plates. And we can see the corner of a show plate over here. So I have been purchased a private number plate for Christmas for the Spike. Which is... Obviously, this is laid out far better for people to read than on a normal Jap plate. But now I have a Max Power Era number plate. Like in Mighty Car Mod's like Too Sexy.
Nice.
Only mine is a toaster. And what I did when I got the new plates was I grabbed them. I was really excited. I was like, all right, I'm going to put my new plates on and then I can DVLA it and it's all going to be good and I can drive around with my toaster. And I didn't look which way up I was drilling the plates and drilled the rear plate upside down.
Oh. No.
Just like pure 5-year-old excitement, Milton.
Good.
And then because I just got the 3D printer not long before Christmas, I printed some little bung holes for the number plate until my new plate arrived, so it didn't look too bad.
Wow.
I've just remembered one I've forgotten. Matt, you might remember this. Do you remember when we were fitting the wide arch kit to your MX-5?
Yeah.
And if you fit wide arch, because it was like was it 25 or 30 mil spacer we had on yours? And
30.
It was 30 on the front, 35 on the back.
so it was a lot, and you already had 8-inch wide, 0 offset wheels. So we put these little arch extensions on, and then found that the wheel hits the rest of the wing. So you have to get rid of it somehow. And we didn't have appropriate tools to get rid of the rest of the wing. So what we ended up doing was cutting a slit along the swage line. And then we could have cut the bottom of the wing off. And I was like, no, we've got to do this properly. We've got to kind of like bend it in out of the way of the wheel. But we didn't have a hammer. So what did we use to bend this wheel in but a can of Dr. Pepper that our friend had? And I was just smacking this wheel arch with a Dr. Pepper can and a wheel spacer until it bent in.
I think in the end what we ended up doing was putting I think it was a Dr. Pepper bottle behind the wing to give it shape, and then hitting it using the spacer as a hammer.
And it looked great. It looked amazing.
It did.
When it was done.
Wow.
You could never tell.
We had similar story. Do you guys remember the Bryn? I think it's the JE where we had Pickle Rick.
Ah, yeah.
Do you remember Jake's MX-5 had that black paint with the red anarchy symbol on the back?
Yes.
So Jake had been run off the road on the way to my workshop, hit the central reservation with the 5, and dented the rear quarter. So we arranged for someone to bring us an MX-5 rear light to JAE, got a plank of wood in my workshop, jammed it into the rear quarter, and literally took a sledgehammer to the back end of this plank of wood to knock it back out. Graffiti paint. I had one of my little anarchist moments and put the red anarchy symbol on it. Jake then complained that I'd used the factually correct one, not the 70s punk outside the lines one. So I had to fix that and go back at it again. Yeah, that was an interesting one. Then fixing it at JE, and then getting Barnacle from Driftworks to launch you off Pickle Rick on multiple occasions.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there having to bit of wood and hammer out a quarter at Rockingham when it was the one where they did 4 different layouts, and the ones that I wanted to do were all closed for somebody getting recovered. So I went and did the outer paddock layout, and I hadn't done it at all that day. And I had my friend Luke in with me. I was going around like feeling this track out. Yeah, I kind of get this. And he was like, oh, go for that clipping point. Go for that clipping point. And I was like, yeah, cool. I got this. I'm going to go for the clipping point. Didn't see the tyres the other side of the clipping point. Went straight into the tyres. So I was the same thing. It's just like, fuck you, Luke, beating this quarterback out. Like, this car was perfect.
I did that at Rockingham on one of the days. And what happened was the first corner went around to a tyre stack, then it went full 360 degrees, and then the other side of the tyre stack was the outer clipping point for the other side. As I set off, all was perfect, but what happened was somebody hit it from the other side, the person in front of me, and knocked just the top 2 tyres across. So I come round running the perfect line to run the back of this tyre wall, and not seeing the 2 tyres just sticking out, hit them, and yeah, there was a massive dent in my rear quarter.
The tyres grab you, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, they'd only hit the top 2. Only the top 2 tyres of this like stack of 5 had come loose. So I went underneath it, just knocked them back into place.
Good effort.
I think actually that I've just thought of another one. So when another case of a delay in installing the Skunk 2 intake was snapping the throttle body bolt that bolted the throttle body onto the factory thing, because me and one of my mates decided to do it at, I think it was about 11:30 at night, and I was tired and I forgot lefty loosey righty tighty, and went fully at it the wrong way. And
Would it go righty tighty to righty loosey?
It went righty tighty to righty shit
Snapped.
that's attached to part of the ratchet.
Wow.
But you guys, Matt's seen me like the sheer force that a 20 stone man can chuck behind a ratchet spanner. Matt's seen what I'm capable of doing when I'm pissed off with a part and I'm tired. Not as much as Matt is capable of snapping plastic panels in the back of your Honda Spike in half.
One day he'll let go of it.
Not today.
One day
He brings it up in every episode.
one day I'll let go of it when he flies to Japan and brings me a new one back.
On work expenses, yeah?
Not on work expenses, no. But if we can get enough subscribers, maybe we will all have to go on a visit to Japan.
There wasn't enough money for Matt, sorry.
That's the premise for a road trip, is going
Just do the whole episode with me, Bryn, and Ryan in a hotel in Tokyo with Matt in his living room.
Crying.
And the way he finds out is that we're all just sat, like, we come on and go, oh look, we're all together, Matt, where are you?
No, we all sit in slightly different, so we're not in the same shot. But, guys, did you redecorate all your rooms the same?
We're not in the same shot, but you can see the back of us in each other's shot.
Well,
Now, with
speaking
Matt,
of...
if we go to Japan together, we won't abandon you.
No, I will be scared
you
anyway,
won't.
so I'll be hanging on to someone.
But the premise will be to try and get a Spike part.
The premise will not necessarily be to try and get Spike parts.
Spike part.
It will be an instruction that everybody takes a backpack for carry-on that has all your clothes in it and an empty bag.
That's
and
fine.
visits to Up Garage will happen.
Well, we could all fit a wheel in our suitcase.
I know, Milton, and I've got some tasty JDM wheel habits.
Speaking of you being a 20 stone man and putting weight behind a spanner,
Yeah.
I'm not a 20 stone man. I'm a 7 or 8 stone. So when there's bolts, I have to get pretty ingenious. My favourite is my makeshift breaker bar ratchet. So it's a normal 3/8 ratchet,
Yeah.
but then you put a 1/2 inch extension bar with a deep impact socket, and then you stick that on the end of the ratchet. Boom, you've got a breaker bar ratchet. When you're on your own and you're up under a car, you've got to do what you got to do.
I've got something very similar, Milton, that is just a piece of pipe that's about half the length as I am tall. So it's about 2'8". And what I do is I jam it right over the whole length of the ratchet. It's called the fuck you bar. Get it pointed as vertically as I can, grab the very top of it, and throw 20 stone backwards hanging off of it. And I can guarantee that bolt is either coming loose or snapping.
I'd be more inclined to say you're going to snap your ratchet mechanism.
Yeah, like if you work for Halford's parts department, like you're probably shitting a brick right now.
What
I
safe to say, safe.
Fam, is a fucking breaker bar.
Yeah, I was going to say
Bryn,
that's what I use
Bryn,
on mine.
Bryn, no, I've got a breaker bar.
So have I, but I
To
don't
get his
have...
breaker bar.
Use it. It's what they're for.
But
So,
Bryn, do you have a 14 mil socket for that breaker bar?
Yes, because it's just got a socket on the end, like a
Yeah.
square ratchet. Right.
Yeah, but I haven't got a 3/8 breaker bar. I've got a 1/2 inch wheel breaker bar. That's
so have I.
Yeah, I've got one of both.
Have you
Fancy.
not got?
My-
have you not got?
my-
Have you not got a 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter?
yeah, I did that, and on my first drift day, I got half left to go to pod, and I was like, "Why is my car rackety?" I got out, and all the wheels were loose because I was using the adapter. I managed to get to pod. As soon as I undid my wheel, clonk, and snapped the adapter. So I think I had to borrow someone's spanner for the day.
My 1/2 inch sockets start at 10 mil.
I didn't get that kit. I got the 180 piece, not the 200.
I'll get you an adapter for Christmas, Ryan.
Oh, I've
So
got
on-
two adapters.
So on the subject of breaker bars, to get the to get the eccentric shaft out of a rotary, you need a was it 54 mil socket for the flywheel and a 21 for the crank at the other end. Did the
54
flywheel one? Yeah, it's 54. It's a massive socket. Did the flywheel one? I had to lock the flywheel off with a bit of chain and a bolt and everything. To do the other end, I had to put my breaker bar, which is the same as the one Bryn had, and then my jack handle, which is like 4 foot on the end of that, and literally dangle my weight off it before it cracked and came undone.
Yeah, they're
Right.
stupid talk. They're like 300 and something Newton meters. I remember seeing
That-
when Nick did
Yeah.
the one on his Renesis, he literally strapped his engine to a fucking tree and then went at it.
Yeah, that was the only way I could get it undone.
That's why you want an impact carbon, because it shocks. It's not as much, because pulling does an extra force in it, shocking it.
Yeah,
Is that right, Bryn?
And that melts is the exact reason, instead of a breaker bar, you use a ratchet, because you give it a little and then bang.
Yeah.
That has just shaken every light on my desk.
Wow.
That's
why
how
Halfords
two of my
advanced.
ratchets ended up broken.
Yeah, that's why
So
they
in
tell
defense
Not
to the
to do
Halfords
that.
parts people, right? The only ratchet set I've ever had that has survived the abuse that I give ratchets is my Halfords Pro set.
Same.
Yeah.
I've only had to replace one adapter and one ratchet.
I did twist an adapter. So with my torque wrench, I couldn't get it right up flush against the car. So I just put the adapter that comes with it, the chrome one that comes with it, went to undo a wheel nut, and then it's like, oh, that got loose really quickly. And then the whole thing was twisted at the end.
Yeah,
So,
I kept
yeah.
going and it snapped.
Yeah. The only thing that I've ever snapped is fucking T45 sockets. Some of you may remember this.
Why would that be, Bryn? Elaborate.
So late this summer, I had the worst experience I have ever had working on cars, and that was trying to replace the fucking freewheeling hub off the alternator for my Passat. It took me 10 hours to do it on a Sunday because fucking stupid ass me. I had looked at the guide for how to do this. I was like, yeah, that's easy. It's really nice. VW do this lovely thing where you don't even have to take half the front end off. You just undo some bolts and you slide the whole thing forward and it gives you space. I was like, fucking A. Right, perfect. The bolts that hold the front end on are T45s. Why are they T45s? I don't know, but apparently they're done up to more torque than a T45 can handle. And I am clipping like a motherfucker, so let's just turn this little knob down. So I snapped two T45s. I went and borrowed my neighbour's ones. I snapped that. I went and borrowed some more. I fucking snapped that. Yeah, and then I got fucking, then I got the alternator out. Fucking pulley was fucking welded on.
That sounds like a bad Usher song.
What?
So what would
Snap that.
this gets us to, I think, an interesting point, Brent. Working on the car, so avoiding the workshop fail. Is it easier to work on Jap or German?
That's a different one because we know our Jap cars. So we know if I want to
That's
take.
why I'm asking Bryn, because he secretly loves VAG.
Here's the thing, right? I've had more issues with MX-5s than I have with any of my VAG stuff. And I've had to fix some pretty major... I had a Golf where the head gasket went. And people give them a lot of shit because they're complicated. And they are complicated, but genuinely, they're very intelligently designed. So apart from these T45s, I've never had issues with having to take stuff apart before. It's all in places you can actually get to, even though there's shitloads of stuff around it. You just need to know how to get in.
I'm sorry to say this, Bryn, but you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
I refuse to accept that any, you can call things intelligently designed for any company that has a service interval of 120,000 miles on a part, and the part fails at 60,000 miles, and they go, No, we're not covering a warranty. That's standard wear and tear. And what that part failing requires is a complete and full engine rebuild because the failed part was a stretched fucking timing chain. So, German reliability my ass.
But I bet all of the bolts to get to it were really nice to take off.
Don't know. Took it to someone else to do it. Didn't want to touch it.
Well, there you go.
Because my way of fixing it would have been to throw a Molotov cocktail into it and done an insurance job.
Didn't you have one of them, if it was the same car, didn't you have one of them on top of the engine bay with leaking fuel anyway? So this was the fuel leak that you couldn't find after what, 6 weeks?
Yep.
A mechanic couldn't find it either. I opened the bonnet and went, "Is that it there?" But I literally looked at it for 5 seconds and went, "Is that it there?"
So I'm in there sniffing around for the fuel leak, trying to listen for like the noise of the fluid, not actually using my eyes, using my other senses, because that's normally what works for finding such things. No, he fucking pops the bonnet and goes, "Is this it?"
Literally after looking, I looked at the top of the engine for 5 seconds and went, "Oh yeah, there it is."
Oh, dear.
I tell you a really, really unreliable car that I had a few workshop fails on actually. That Fiat Punto.
Oh, fuck Fiat.
Like
I had one of them for about 3 months and then the head gasket
Mark
went.
II Fiat Punto. The gearboxes are genuinely made of cheese.
Yep, my neighbour had one, and second gear went, and every single morning I would hear him leave like this. Because he had to go from first to third every day.
I did that twice in 12 months, Brent.
Yep, honestly, absolute cheese.
and then my other one was in my infinite wisdom. So the first thing I think everyone should remember is, and we've mentioned it before, I actually had a head injury a few years ago that meant that I kind of forgot my own name and everything. And on the subject of that kind of thing, we are going to be doing an episode in the future on mental health in motorsport. We're going to be joined by Dan Pendry-Moore from Sad Boy Race Club. It's going to be a really cool, quite serious episode. Obviously, we'll take the piss slightly less than normal. But I think it's a really important one for us to do. We did a video of our show stuff a while ago when we got invited to an event called CalFest, which was, again, a mental health event. And it's something, that's quite near and dear to the team's hearts. But basically, this head injury meant that I forgot everything, including my own name. So came back to cars, and when I was allowed to drive again, basically went, I'm gonna build a car again. So grew up building Caterhams with my dad, and building motorbikes with my granddad, and I'm gonna build a car again. I'm gonna remember stuff, or I'm gonna have to relearn stuff. So off I went on this adventure of relearning stuff with nobody around me that I could remember that knew about cars. So I did stuff like, I'm going to smooth the front bumper. How did you smooth the front bumper? Well, you use filler. No, don't use filler. So the first time I smoothed the front bumper and painted it, was perfect. Everything. Took me like a few weeks of trial and error to get it right again. And the second I fitted it, it twisted slightly and the filler just went... So I did a version 2 with fiberglass. That worked. And then I tried to do this front grille that brought the mesh right to the front, like cars had at the time. Instead of it being that sunken back bottom grille that's on the Punto. And just ended up having to give up and put chrome edging tape around the edge of this mouth until I could take it out again safely and redo the whole front bumper again, because it looked shit. What else did I do on that Punto? Changed the brakes wrong, and that's why I won't ever go near brakes again. I've accepted that's the thing I'm not going to relearn to do right, because I'm getting on and I have a certain capacity for knowledge. Speaking of which, with me getting on, this is my birthday episode. We're about 50 minutes in, and I think it's time for Bryn to reveal the prize-winning discount code.
Okay.
Which is...
Prize-winning discount code, thematically, is BAMS OLD. All one word, all capitals. That is BAMS OLD. You'll get 20% off your order, and you get to have a ride with Milton. And as we've already said, please don't touch him unless you're hot.
I didn't say that.
So the bit that Bryn's forgotten is it's 20% off an order over £20, because we do have to give Milton some money for tyres and fuel,
Therapy.
and to stop him suing you if you inappropriately touch him.
But I don't agree to that. But if it happens, I can't stop that.
Good.
So that discount code.
Disclaimer.
That discount code. We'll get Milton to sign a waiver for you when you get in the car.
Well, I won't touch them.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that discount code is BAMS OLD in block capitals. It's a single-use code. Only one person can win that prize. UK residents only, we'll say, unless you're going to travel to a car show in the UK where Milton is driving.
No, if it's USA, they just have to pay for me and a car to get there. I'm willing to do that for the VRS fans.
Okay, so there you go. So it could be a very expensive price for you if you're not UK based.
But you get 20% off.
But you get 20% off a 20 quid order, so it's totally worth it. And yeah, on a serious note, boys, genuine serious note, we've gone the full length of an episode without a whooshy thing. So
Wow.
I'm going to do the sensible thing now. We've mentioned the discount code and we've talked about a lot of fails.
You're not going to wrap it up already.
What?
You're not going to wrap it up already.
I'm not going to wrap it up. Of course I'm not going to wrap it up, Bryn.
Good. We've not done the sketchiest shit yet.
All right. Which sounds to me, you thought you were escaping, but sounds to me like Bryn has some sketchy shit to discuss.
I was just saving one that I'm very proud of, and my friend at the time made me promise I wouldn't tell anyone, but we're not friends anymore, so I'm going to tell you what I did.
Would this be a person that used to own a Honda?
Yes, you know the car.
Who's going to say you know the
Fact
car?
for you, right? Hondas are like Lego in that you can fit almost any part off of any Honda to any other age Honda. They didn't change that much. But what they did change was the spindles that the shocks actually mount into. And there's two different sizes. There's a big one and there's a little one. And my friend, I can't even remember why he was changing them. He'd fucked something, so he had to change the spindles. Oh, we were putting the BC coilovers on it, and so we had to put new spindles on it. And he was moving house, and his car was still at his old house, so we needed to change the spindles so that we could get the car to his new house. This job needed to be done that day. It had to get finished. And it turns out that Honda people are fucking idiots, and the guy had sold him the wrong spindles. They did not fit his car. The hole was too big. But there was nothing we could do because this car needed to leave, and the other spindles were already gone. So I got a load of penny washers and I beat them around a 32mm socket to make a load of spacers so that the spindle would grip the bottom of the shock. And we did it, and it gripped. And I said to him, you're going to drive this to your new house very carefully, and you are not going to drive this car again until you fix these and put the new spindles on, because although the shock is retained, if you go over a bump and the wheel leaves the ground, it's just going to do this, because the actual pinch bolt that's meant to go through a little groove was not. His friend turned up to Japfest 2, still on these fucking washers.
How long between Jetfest and you doing that was it?
It was like 3 weeks. Oh, but I was so proud of that bodge. And then so unhappy to see that bodge still on that car.
Yes, that is the start of my third donut.
I mean, if we're talking about bodges, the one that you did to my car at Rockingham was pretty good.
Well, I clamping the brake line. Because it got these old calipers that were so rusty that some of the piston seal was missing. So the seal just fucking left when he put his foot on the brakes.
And then just brake fluid pissed out everywhere. But luckily, I was still on the rubber lines at that point. So go over to a mate. He's like, "Can I purchase some mole grips off you?" Mole grip this rubber hose in half, so it blocked it off, and the system was still complete. Cable tied it up out of the way and carried on drifting with 3 brake calipers.
Saying that though, I did the same thing. I had many problems with rear brakes sticking. So right, I'm gonna go buy new ones. I did go buy the cheapest brand new patent parts, and it was an event at Formula G. I did one run, practice, fine, qualifying, blah blah, and I won my first battle, sitting in the queue, and then get called up to go to my second. Start to pull away, put my foot on the brake, and my foot goes to the floor. Okay, that's not right. Did it again. So I turn the car off and stop and look, and I see basically every time I put my foot in, it came out the piston of a brand new caliper. So Stephen Gretton, to be fair to him, came over and gave me the proper brake holder things that you do. And we went back out with it still connected, and I would have been okay, but I think there was a bit of air in the system, so I didn't pump the hydro enough. But yeah, I still went out and did drive at a crowd at probably 60, 70 miles an hour with only 3 brakes.
That's fine. You don't need 3.
I mean, the brakes on the MX-5 are so biased, so far forward, that your rear brakes kind of don't make any difference.
So I've had one. I think when you own a Fiat, you become the king of the bodge. Is the first defense of some of these. So the first.
I'm just picturing in between us.
No, it had all the same coloured doors.
Ah.
That was a Cinquecento. That thing.
Yeah.
It ended in toe.
So the first one that really bit me in the arse once was, I started referring to it as the Franklin Punto because it had bits of alpha bodged into the Fiat body. So I got a Frankenstein head gear knob that was for a screw-on JDM car. So all I did to fit this thing was put electrical tape around the top of the gear knob until it was tight enough, and then forced it down, screwing it on.
So it made its own threads, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mint.
Then forgot to mention to my mum, when you pull up for reverse, don't pull up too hard. When I went away on a business trip, got a phone call from my mum, who decided to drive my car to the shops, going, "Your gear knob's just come off in my hands. What's going on?"
Good effort.
There was obviously the chrome tape bodge that we've already mentioned to the front grille. There was a bodge to the gearbox the day that I traded it in. When
Bryn's
I got the
just
Lexus.
thought of something.
Bryn's got a bodge in his brain now.
Not one of mine. It's not one of mine. Matt, do you remember Will's Land Rover?
Yeah, vividly.
He had these big ass spotlights, right? And interior lights. And so these lights, you could change whether or not you turned on the spotlights or the interior lights so he had a household light switch that was screwed into just above the fucking windscreen. So you turned the lights on with the household light switch, and you changed which ones it activated by pulling the wires out, grabbing the other wires, and jamming them into the same light switch.
Wow.
I'd forgotten about that until you said about your bodgy punto.
So I think I genuinely think that's probably time to round up this episode. I think we've got more, so there will be a Workshop Fails Part 2 in the future.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
An
We'll make more
absolute,
fails.
absolute worst case, when we get the subscriber count up a bit and we can afford a workshop space to all be together again, or God forbid, I clean my current workshop or Matt finally closes on his house. We will no doubt show you some workshop budgets we've done. I've got I think it's really cool part coming soon that I'm going to do a quick install video on the channel for. That has been brought over for me as a present from a parts supplier, which is pretty cool. And you may, I don't know, they're thinking about stocking them. They want me to have a look and see what I think. But really cool part nonetheless that will be going into the Spike. So just hold out for a video that I'll have to get Amy the missus to help me film. We've got, as we said, we've got a load of guest episodes coming up. There's that list in the back corner that you probably can't read. I know Bryn and Milton have tried to read it before. Bryn's going for it again.
Yeah, I can't remember what I read last time. Oh, no, I can't even read that now. The first one definitely says Unchained Melody, which is a great song. Absolutely fantastic song. Meats, 4 Down, is that Meats? Mad
4 Down is events. So.
Madhouse. Car. No, I can't read anything. One of them definitely says something about Borat, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Can I just say, if you've got any suggestions for what you want us to chat shit about, put it in the comments. Yeah. We read every comment. I'm saying like we get like thousands of them. It's just us commenting.
We've got there are other people who comment. We actually got a comment on the last episode that said that it should have been 4 guys in caps discuss hybrids. That's an episode title. That came through earlier today.
I like that.
What's really cool is like you guys are still subscribing to this. So in the last 28 days, channel's still growing. This is the first time we've really put a ton of effort into the YouTube channel. We do want to make stuff for you guys. Obviously, things currently stopping us get together, including but not limited to. So when we can get back together, we're going to do some workshop videos, that kind of thing, in our existing workshops, which means you will get to see what can only be described as Shit Palace, which is my workshop bolted onto the back of a working dairy farm where the cows sleep not more than 100 yards away from my car.
Yeah, my garage needs tidying up too, to be fair.
But we will be getting together. He's been Milton.
Toodles.
He's been Bryn.
Still have a mullet.
He's been Matt. And I've been Bam. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notify button. Tell us what you want to see in the future in the comments. Tell us who you'd like to see us collaborate with on a video. If you've got anyone else who you might be interested to see us talking to. Also, fancy new surround this week. New overlay.
Wow, look at that. It looks well cool. Look at it.
I love the sarcasm there, Milton.
I've done in post-edit. What do you expect me to do? I can't see it.
So yeah, thanks everyone for your time this week. We'll be back next week, and have an awesome week.
Can I go pee now?